Hey, welcome to Dino Comics Forever, and today we're going to be drawing Wolverine from the X-Men. Well, obviously, duh. Okay, the first part's always a bit boring, so here I'm just going to ramble on to stuff I really like, because this is the, inking the lines, and if you don't know how I do it, you probably won't. Or just look at my previous videos, it's all in there. Nothing too complicated. I mean, here you can always just add in some extra depth by just making a couple of lines thicker than the rest. Usually if you want to make the lines thicker in certain areas, do it on the places where it's furthest away from the light source. Because that kind of helps indicate where the shadow is going to be. So basically, just dicking around until I get into the cool part. Actually, when it comes to the next video, I'm probably going to really speed this part up way faster because, yeah, to me it's getting boring just, finding something to talk about in this part because, I mean, everybody, if you're a subscriber, you probably know this by now, how I ink all my stuff. But, next video I want to try something different. Oh, yeah, shit. That's what I forgot. My next video is probably just going to be either a recap or some live footage from Animecon this weekend, which I'm super excited about because that's where I'm going to be premiering my very first book, Dragon, in black and white. I mean, I still need to color 8 more pages of the first chapter, but you know what? I've postponed it way too long, and I think it's cool to bring out a black and white version of the first chapter because it's like an exclusive, so people can, really get hyped for it. And I really hope people will be able to enjoy it. I sure as hell enjoy making it. And for those who are interested, I will be selling them online, so more information will come later. So just be sure to keep that in mind if you're ever interested in my narrative work. I mean, it's drawn, written, colored, everything is basically by me, but I have to thank my editor, Wes Givnar, a lot because he's helped me when it comes to story, like saying, yeah, this is good, this is bad, and add this, take away that, and that sort of stuff. Stuff that an editor does. And I'm really thankful for him. Okay. Oh, here's something I actually wanted to mention. It's about his claws, because whenever I drew Wolverine in the past, I usually had the habit of drawing his claws really long, because I want to get a real nice savage feel to him. Then when I met the great Stephen Scott, or Stephen B. Scott, he actually did a lot of stuff for Marvel and DC. He told me he gets really pissed off when artists draw Wolverine's claws like super long, because when they retract back into his body, if his claws are really long, then his forearm should also be super long. So that's actually something I took into account, kind of remembering that, so that I don't offend the masters, so to speak. So if he's ever watching, thank you, Mr. Scott, for helping me out with that bit of insight, and I hope you're pleased. Do I please you, Mr. Scott? Are you pleased, Mr. Scott? Why won't you answer me, Mr. Scott? He's got stuff to do. Oh yeah, this is actually with Wolverine. I actually tried doing something a bit different this time, rather than just using my simple rounded block shading technique. I decided to try and attempt a cell shading, in a sense. And when I'm looking back at it, I don't think the cross-hatching was exactly helpful in that sense. But you know what? Trial by error. You have to try a few things and then see if they work out, and hopefully they do. If they don't, they don't. Then you got something for next time. And like I said, this is try by error, so the next time I try cell shading, I'm not going to use as many heavy black tones as you see here. I'm probably just going to leave the black for the outlines and focus more on the colors, because the thing about cell shading is it has a lot of light values in the sense that it really helps showcase where there are warm and cold tones. And when it comes to that, you have to establish your light source as well as figure out where the cold and the warm tones are coming from, because cold tones are usually reserved for the back, like places where the shadow are supposed to be, and warm tones are usually where the light source is the heaviest. So, here we go, cell shading. So as you can see, I'm using a peach tone, or peach color, instead of my normal reddish gray. I think I'm going to use this for a lot of other things from now on. Not everything, just a couple of things I'm going to use when it comes to cell shading. So with a normal round brush, I just pack on a whole bunch of shadow where I want shadow to be, and then with my eraser tool, also set to the same brush, I sculpt how the shadow is supposed to mold or look. And then I can also kind of figure out how I want the light to play around in his face, because when it comes to showing anger, it's all about the wrinkles in the face, the brow, the nose, as well as around the mouth. Because when someone's angry, their muscles kind of fold and the muscles in the face, they morph the face itself into something completely different. Same goes when it comes to a happy face or a sad face. It's just fun to play around with those, not just the lines itself, but also the shadows. The shadows play a huge part when it comes to portraying emotion in a face. Too much shadow can help portray a sort of a dark, sinister emotion, whereas very little helps to showcase a more lighter and entertaining or amusing atmosphere. So keep that in mind. Use a lot of shadow in the face when you want to show that your character is angry, and use very little when you want to show that they're, happy or in a pleasant mood. And okay, what I notice now is next time I'm just going to I forgot about hard and light shadows, in the sense that hard shadows are a big block of shadow, in the sense that there is a specific line that defines where the shadow is and where the shadow isn't, as you can see here. And light shadows is basically when you use a soft brush to take away to kind of show that it's kind of fading into where light is fading into shadow. So that's something I need to keep in mind when it comes to the next piece. And of course, when it comes to metal, you can play a lot there too, kind of showcasing where it's shinier, where it's most shiny. I don't know why I'm saying that. You all probably know by now. And like I said, this is my attempt at cell shading. I did it before. I didn't exactly videotape it because I didn't know how to at the time, but I wasn't exactly happy with it. So that's why I'm thankful for people who post tutorials online, because that really helps me a lot. And it helps a lot of other people. Sorry, my nose is kind of stuffed. Ignore that. And actually, for those, just to say this outside the actual video, I'm going to be at Animecon next week. So if you're there, I would be most happy to see you and to get some not just feedback, but also just to hear what you guys think about my work and the current going on in comics and cartoons. I'm just curious. Okay, it's actually a lot different because I'm normally used to using a lot of heavy black tones in these drawings, but now that it's cell shading, I reserve the heavy black tones for the jacket because that's leather and it's shiny, and I wasn't exactly sure what sort of color it should be without making it look like a dirty brown. So we just left that part a heavy black. Okay, what was I doing here again? Don't even know. Oh yeah, I used the burn tool to add in some extra shadow to the shadow, so it has a nice 3D effect. And it's called the burn tool. Just keep that in mind. Okay, and since the color is already there on a separate layer, meow, I'm adding in the warm and the cold tones. Just using the overlay layer, setting it to... oh, no, I'm not doing that just yet. Jeez. I'm setting the highlights. Just on a screen layer with a very lighter tone of peach. Just add in a few lines where you know the light source is strongest. Just 1 or 2 lines, nothing more. On things that are like super shiny, like the jacket and the metal, that's where you can add in a lot more because that's, shiny, and light likes to play a lot on very shiny surfaces. So there you can really, go to town. When it comes to the warm tones, or when it comes to things like cloth and skin, use very little or else it'll come off shiny, and that's not what you want. Okay, now we're going to move on to adding warm and cold tones. So what I did was I used an overlay layer, and then I had a very soft brush, I set it to yellow, and I added yellow on areas where I knew the light was strongest. And then I switched it to blue and added that to areas where it was the heaviest shadow, because that's where the coldest areas are. So hopefully that worked out. Who knows? And here's instead of just, talking about it, here's where I did it. I wasn't too sure about this. I'm going to try it again on other pieces. Just, bear with me. And of course, I set the eraser on the same softness so I can, kind of sculpt the tones where I want them to be. Okay, this part's done. Now the home stretch. I already had these done beforehand because I want to test some stuff out. And it's just basically finding out what looks best on it and then putting a gradient on top of that whole layer and setting it to overlay. And here we have it, Wolverine. I want to thank you all for enduring this attempt at cell shading. I hope it came out well. And let's cross our fingers and toes that the next one after the next cell shading attempt is actually better. Well, I like it. I hope you guys do too. Just so you know, this print's on sale at Animecon, and thank you all for watching. See you in the next one. Bye!